Hospitals are there to protect big business. February 16th, 2021. People seem to believe that hospitals are there to protect people. The only evidence I've seen is that hospitals are there to protect big business. They are to guarantee the automobile companies are still in business, making a profit when they are injuring and killing thousands of people. The hospitals are there to guarantee that no matter how many children are injured or killed on bicycles, the bicycle manufacturer stays in business. It doesn't matter how many people are killed by guns. Hospitals are there to make sure the gun manufacturers are making more profit than anyone else. Just when you think the insanity stops there, hospitals are there to protect the food industry from being sued out of business when they sell food that makes you sick. Now, I knew I was sick from the ice cream, but I wasn't sure how it was making me sick. I didn't know if I had diabetes, lactose intolerant, or if I had food poisoning. The doctors at the hospital were there to try to convince me that it wasn't food poisoning. The doctor said it couldn't be food poisoning because I was sick too quick after eating the ice cream. They ran hundreds of tests on me, MRIs, X-rays, CAT scans, blood tests, urine tests, but no test on the food that I believe made me sick. They were not interested in testing the ice cream. They can't even tell me where I could get the ice cream tested if I wanted to test it with my own money instead of Medicare's or my health insurance. The ice cream should have been the first non-evasive test they tested. They only ran tests that destroyed my health. Testing the ice cream should have been the first thing they did. The hospital could not even tell me where I could take the ice cream to get it tested. The CDC was a joke because of COVID-19. They are only given information about COVID-19. You can't get any information from them about food poisoning except for what you can read. You can't contact anybody. So I contacted the Poison Control Center. And I told the lady at the Poison Control Center about the recalled Myers brand Purple Cow ice cream and how I was sick in the hospital and I wanted the ice cream to be tested. All she did was try to convince me that it was too expensive to have the ice cream tested, that there was no evidence Myers brand ice cream was recalled, any flavor, any year. She said she looked it up and it was never recalled. It was on the Myers website. I don't know how she couldn't find it. And that's when I understood what the biblical word haughty meant. God had destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because the people were haughty. They think they are better than everyone else. And every doctor I have ever seen was like this. I only called the Poison Control Center to find out where I can get the ice cream tested. And this lady was trying to give me the runaround. Finally, she said to find an analytical lab if I wanted the ice cream tested, and it would be very expensive. She was still trying to talk me out of it, even after she told me what to look for. I don't care what it costs. It almost cost me my life, and I'm sure the medical bills from that hospital visit is going to be more than it costs to test that ice cream for salmonella or listeria. So it was the vanilla flavored Myers brand Purple Cow ice cream that was recalled last year because it was contaminated with listeria. But a few years before that, both Kroger and Myers recalled ice cream because of salmonella. And it doesn't really matter that it was recalled last year, because this ice cream has a 2-year shelf life. It doesn't expire for 2 years, which is scary in itself because, ice cream lasts 2 years. That right there makes it sound like ice cream might be toxic. It's made out of nothing but chemicals. So Medicare is probably not going to cover the cost of testing the ice cream that poisons people, because it may prevent millions of people from getting sick in the first place. And they're not about prevention or stopping people from getting sick. They're about making sure the doctor gets paid when millions of people get sick. Because it's all about protecting industry and the profits of hospitals. So how is the hospital going to profit if nobody gets food poisoning, nobody gets injured in a car, by a gun, swimming pool, skateboard, or bicycle accident? The only analytical lab that does food testing I found on the internet was out in Lansing. So I don't know how I'm going to get the ice cream to Lansing without melting. I'm going to try to find another lab that will do the testing close to where I live in Roseville, Michigan, or Warren, Michigan. So from the CDC, it says that only 1,600 people a year come down with listeriosis. It's a disease caused by listeria. And I'll put a link below to the CDC on listeria. Listeria monocytogenes, monocytogenes, kills about 230 people a year out of the 1,500 people who are hospitalized from it. So they claim only 1,600 people get it, but 1,500 of those 1,600 are hospitalized from it, and of those, 230 die. So this is more deadly than COVID-19. Now obviously there's more cases than this, but hospitals don't even test for it. So if you go to the emergency room, they're not even going to test you for it because they may have to recall the ice cream, and that might cost companies millions of dollars, right? It's better everybody gets sick and everybody go to the hospital. They are there to protect industry, not find out what's wrong with you. So not only are they not testing the ice cream, they're not testing the sick people for listeriosis. The only way you're going to be tested for listeriosis is if you actually die, or you're so sick that you almost die. Because most people, they start to recover, they let them go, and they never test them. If you even ask for a test for listeriosis, they'll probably look at you as if you're crazy. If you even ask to have the ice cream tested, they will look at you as if you're crazy. They'll give you the runaround. In fact, the diagnosis they will give you is that you're crazy when you have any symptoms from food poisoning, and it's all about protecting the food industry and their profits. Of course, they do the same thing with auto, bicycle, skateboard, and work-related injuries. But who knew they were doing it with food? So I called the hospital back up and asked them if they had any of my blood left over so they can test for listeria, and they just gave me the runaround. They just act like you're crazy. We're not going to test you for listeria. Kept transferring me around to records or a different department in the hospital. They don't care about you. They care about big business profits. And hopefully if there's another major outbreak of food poisoning, they can fill all their hospital beds and make millions of dollars, right? Now, from living in a toxic mold house, I learned that everything is poisonous if you are exposed to enough of it. So you can die from drinking too much water. If there's a little mold in your bathroom, it's not going to hurt you. But if there's more than 10 foot of mold, you have to wear a hazmat suit. More than 10 square feet, you need to wear a hazmat suit. Now, you could drink 1 or 2 beers and it won't harm you. But if you drink more than a dozen beers in one sitting, you can get alcohol poisoning. This is what I felt like after eating the ice cream. I felt like I was suffering from alcohol poisoning. I felt like vomiting. I was nauseated. I felt nauseated. I lost my balance. I kept falling down. The room was spinning. It was vertigo, but not only was it vertigo, it was horizontal vertigo. The room was spinning horizontally, like that way. And if you remember those old TV sets where the vertical is off, the picture keeps flipping over and over and over. And when the horizontal is off, the picture keeps going sideways on the TV set, and that's what it looked like. And I think it has something to do with your vision. Your eyes cannot focus, so your brain causes your eyes to go back and forth to try to gain focus. And you're not conscious that your eyes are moving back and forth. So somebody has to look at your eyes and they can see your eyes going back and forth like that. And then they know that you got vertigo. So this is what's causing the room to go sideways, making you lose your balance. Yeah, it's really bizarre, and I never felt like that before. You really feel like you're dying. Now, I've been drunk and had the dizziness, but this was totally different. I felt like I was dying. You know, and if you are being poisoned, you are in fact dying. They're trying to say that listeria only affects the elderly or those who are immunocompromised. But I think it all has to do about the dose you got of listeria. The more poisoned ice cream you eat, the more likely you are going to get sick from it, and the sicker you're going to get. And this is the same thing with COVID-19. It doesn't matter about age. Young people are getting it if they get exposed to enough of it. So I still haven't got my blood tested for listeria, and I still haven't had the ice cream tested yet. But I believe that it is listeria because that causes a loss of balance. It also causes stiff neck and all this other stuff. And I had a headache Friday and Saturday. And my neck is really becoming deteriorated. I can't move my neck. I could feel this clicking and this popping in my neck. It's like all the cushion in my spine is gone and my bones are on bone in my back. And I may have had this for a long time. And every time I get some more listeria, I probably get another dose and get sicker. Now, it could have been an ear infection, but the ear, nose, and throat doctor said I didn't have an ear infection. But what do they know? They ain't experts. I'm telling you that right now. And I don't think diabetes makes you dizzy or lose your balance. Unfortunately, I threw out the ice cream that I ate from. I ate most of it. But I ordered 2 half-gallons of this ice cream, Moose Tracks, extra. It was the extra Moose Tracks, and I still have an unopened half-gallon of it that I could test. So testing the open half-gallon of ice cream would probably only have them claiming I contaminated the ice cream with my ice cream scoop. So I went on the Lansing website that has the capability of testing for listeria in ice cream, and they have a giant list of ice creams that have been recalled because of listeria. And they said 1 in 5 ice creams tested positive for it. So don't ever eat ice cream. What made me so sick was I had a big dose of this ice cream because when I first ate the ice cream, I got stomach cramps and diarrhea. But I wasn't sure if it was the ice cream, the yogurt, the bagel, or the Brita water that I drank. I kept a pitcher of water in the refrigerator, and you're supposed to change these filters every 2 months. And this filter was in there closer to 3 months, okay? So I cleaned the pitcher and changed the filter. Usually I don't change it till it starts to smell or it starts to taste bad. And I wasn't sure if it was food poisoning, diabetes, or lactose intolerant. So the next day I tried eating a bagel. And I was pretty sure it wasn't a bagel, but I introduce these foods one by one to see what it was. And the bagel didn't make me sick. So the next day I tried eating the yogurt. I want to find out what's making me sick, and if it was lactose intolerant. The yogurt didn't make me sick, so must not have been lactose intolerant. And it wasn't the yogurt. So the next day I figured it may be the ice cream, and I'm only going to try a small portion of the ice cream. But I ate a small portion of the ice cream. I didn't get stomach cramps. I didn't get diarrhea. So I figured it must have been the pitcher of water that made me sick. So I continued to eat the ice cream and didn't have stomach cramps or diarrhea. The only thing that happened was Monday night, February 8th, I had 2 servings of this ice cream, pretty big servings, because I was depressed about this shoulder injury, and then I lost balance. And so I didn't do anything else. I couldn't stand up. But because of my shoulder injuries, I couldn't crawl on the ground either. So I lived by myself. I had to figure out a way to stand up. It took me about 20 minutes, but I was finally able to stand up. But it was like I was walking on a tightrope. If I moved my head just a little bit to one direction, I would fall that way. If I moved a little to the left, I would fall to the left, fall over to the left. And then I started getting sick to my stomach. It might have been the dizziness that was making me sick. And that's when I called 911 and went to the hospital. And I literally felt like I was dying because not only I would fall over, but then the room would start spinning and I would get horizontal. The room would go horizontal on me. And, if I knew they weren't going to do anything for me at the hospital, they were only going to protect industry and the ice cream makers, I wouldn't have went to the hospital. But all the way to the hospital in the ambulance ride, the ambulance was spinning, and I was getting sick because the ambulance was bouncing me around and moving my head around, was just making me sicker. So I really felt like I was dying. I can't imagine how many people have went to the hospital sick from food poisoning, and the hospitals knew it, but did nothing about it to recall the poisoned food. The only thing I read about on the internet is how food recalls cost big business billions of dollars, so they don't want to do it, right?